Hi, this is John from At Your Service Home Inspections in Northwest Indiana. Hey, we're going to look at an electrical panel today, okay? So there are some things that we need to do. So when I do my initial walk through the home, one of the things I want to look at is the panel. And one of the things I'm looking at is I want to see what type of panel it is, things like that. But we also want to make sure that this panel is actually safe to open. So I use my infrared camera and I just take a look at it. I don't see nothing hot on it or anything like that, so I feel it's safe to touch. Okay, open it up. Okay, and on the inside of this panel, we want to take a look at what kind of panel this is. Okay, so this is a square D breaker panel. Okay, so it looks like all the breakers are square D. There's some older ones in here, it looks like, but we also want to take a look at it and make sure it's marked properly, which this one's not. So it's missing a few spots here. We don't know what these breakers are for. And it looks like some things have been moved around in this panel. Okay, so we want to make sure, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that the panel, all the breakers are on here. Okay, before we take this cover off, we want to make sure everything's on. We also want to look at the sides of the panel to make sure there's no openings on the sides of the panel. Okay, on this side here, the bottom, make sure there's no openings. And then I can't see up there, but when I open up the panel, I'll be able to tell that. Okay. So the other thing is we want to look at the types of breakers that are here. So manufacturers usually typically recommend that their breakers be in their panels. Okay. This panel here actually says that use of any other than square D circuit breakers may adversely affect user safety, impair reliability, or void the warranty of the panel. So when we're inspecting these panels, we need to be mindful if there's different breakers in there from different panels, okay, from different companies, I mean, then we need to be mindful of that, because sometimes on the tag it will say those breakers are allowed, but most of the time the tag doesn't actually give us that information. So if there's dissimilar breakers in there, we need to be writing that up and looking for having an electrician to look at the panel. Okay, because we already want the electrician to come out to look at this panel to find out why this why this panel is not marked properly. Okay, so the next thing to do, we can take the panel off. The panel's safe, so you can use an insulated screwdriver like this one. Okay, or you can use our drill like this. So you pull the cover off, and inside the panel, we want to be looking for any kind of arcing, melted wires. Double tapping, although Square D does allow double tapping on their breakers, but we want to be mindful. We want to be mindful of like what's on it. Wire size for breakers. There's a number of things to look for while we're inside this panel. We also want to be keeping in mind safety at all times. Okay, so when you pull the cover off, just pull it straight to you. All right. Set that down there. Okay, so we have 100 amp service here. Okay, and normally we can just tell that by looking at the main breaker here. It will tell us it's 100 amp service. We want to look at neutrals. We want to make sure none of the neutrals are doubled up, because you're not allowed each neutral. White wire has to be on its own place in the bus bar. They're not supposed to be doubled up. And it looks like we have one up here that's doubled up that needs to be corrected. And then we also have a wire splice here for something. I'm not too sure what that splice is there for. So now I want to look, so we got 20 amp breakers. Okay, the wire sizes look fine to these. So a 20 amp breaker should have a 12 gauge wire minimum. And then a 14 gauge wire, a 15 amp breaker should have a 14 gauge wire on it. So wire sizes all look okay. And then over here, we got a couple more splices here, and it looks like they put these splices in. There's a heater upstairs in that sunroom, and whoever did the electrical work here spliced these together. Okay, so we may ask for an electrician to evaluate the splices to make sure they were done properly. We also want to make sure this is bonded. There's a bonding screw up there. Okay, no open breaker slots or anything like that in this panel. So the inside of the panel looks pretty good. But we want to find out about the breakers, what they're for that are not marked, and also too about the wire splices in this panel. So, and then to take care of the neutral that's doubled up. Actually, there's two of them. There's no, it's just one. Okay. And other than that, panel looks okay. All right. So just a few things, not many things here. So when I was outside, I saw the ground rod outside, but I also noticed here that our ground, there's a ground here that's not hooked up. Now this house is on well water. Okay. But I know that they do recommend that the grounds, when you still have metal pipe that this house has, that this panel be grounded to the plumbing too. Okay, and I don't see a new ground coming out anywhere. So a couple things, but not too many things wrong with this panel. Okay, so we want to put the cover back on, and be careful putting the cover back on. Just make sure to put it on nice and straight. Make sure you don't trip none of the breakers. So get most of your screws in, get them all started before you tighten anything up. Now you don't have to make these real tight. Just want to just snug them. That's why I use a small drill like this. Doesn't have a lot of torque or anything to it, and, you know, won't make it so you can't tighten things up or you can't get them off again. But you don't want to make it so tight that the next person has trouble getting these screws off. Okay, and that's it. And then you make sure all the breakers are on. Make sure you didn't trip anything while you're doing it. Okay, make sure everything's on and everything is as it is as, you know, when you took the cover off. Okay, and close it up. And that's all there is to that panel. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving us a like or even subscribing, as we will be doing more of these. In the comments, let us know if there's something that you would like to see. And think about this: what's in your crawl space? Thank you again, and have a great day.